Hello and welcome to the Connected Community Podcast. I am so excited about my guest today, Charlotte Nieuwenhuis. So we talk about cacao. I was really looking for an expert on cacao, someone that has a deep relationship with cacao, that reveres this beautiful medicine, that's worked with Indigenous tribes, that has a deep and profound understanding of this medicine. And Charlotte is that person. We really break down everything from cacao, how it's grown, how it varies from different regions within different cultures, what a cacao ceremony typically looks like, what is the difference between ceremonial cacao and coca or chocolate, and everything surrounding cacao. I'm really excited about this podcast. I myself am very passionate about cacao at the moment, and I'm working to develop and cultivate a relationship with it. And Charlotte talks about how we can begin to cultivate a relationship with it, what that process is like, and why sustainability and the connection to the medicine and to the Indigenous cultures is important. So I hope that you'll get some takeaways from this podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're enjoying them, please take a moment to give us a like, a share, and a subscribe. And I want to thank you so much for being here today, and I hope you'll enjoy. Hello, and welcome to the Connected Community Podcast, a place to explore possibility through mindfulness, movement, and self-discovery. Our intention is to deliver insight and inspiration while fostering conversations that are genuine, unfiltered, and deeply human. We hope you will enjoy today's episode. Hi, Charlotte. Good morning, and welcome to the Connected Community Podcast.
Good morning. Thank you for welcoming me.
Yeah, thank you. I am super excited about our topic today. We're going to be talking about cacao, and I'm super excited to find you because I was looking for somebody that had a really deep connection and relationship to cacao, and it took me a while to find you. So I'm so excited because of your knowledge and your background. And so before we kind of just really dive deep into the topic, I would love for you to share with the audience how you came to develop this relationship with cacao in the first place.
Yes, of course. So, cacao has been a teacher for me for the last 5 years. I encountered a spirit first time in Mexico. So, it was really to be on the land where it grows that brought me into this deep connection with her. I had the chance to study with different elders that are using cacao as a ceremonial tool. They use it for ancient wisdom. They've been using it in different ways, and it awakens something very deep in me, which is hard to earth, what I've created from cacao. So yeah, like it started this way. I don't know if I go deeper into the subject right now, but it has been like a revelatory moment for me, the moment that I've encountered her plant or spirit, because I've been taking chocolate for so long, and I've seen also the cacao ceremony elsewhere with it's becoming a trend. I couldn't understand what was it. And it's the moment that I've sat with the elders and I understood that her spirit is here for humanity to come back to the earth. And that's the message, that's the prophecy of cacao. And that is why she's here. That is why she's opening our heart. She's opening our heart for us to access this essence of our being, which is rooted down to the earth. We came here on earth not to be enlightening, getting out of our body, but to really become embodied and in this spirit. And cacao is a reminder of this truth. And so, yeah.
Beautiful. And so there's a lot of people that get cacao and chocolate mixed up, and I know that there's a connection, but let's just specify when we're talking about cacao, what we're talking about. And I'd love for you to share the difference between ceremonial grade cacao and chocolate that you buy in the store.
Yes, of course. Okay, so there's many differences in the cacao. First, there's like 28 strains of cacao that you can find. They have cousins and they have different plants that are very similar to her. Cacao is actually the fruit. So when we talk about cacao, is what is grown on the tree. And I have a fruit here. It's a dry one, but this is like it looks like this. This is the cacao, And when like the difference between ceremonial, I know that people use this term and it's not like really like definite, like this, it doesn't define anything. I think it's just more like of a branding thing for now, but depends. For me, what is a ceremonial cacao is a cacao that has been prayed for before like even like the whole process of plantation. They do ceremonies. So like for example, the cacao that we have, it's a prayed cacao. It's fermented, so there's a difference between a fermented cacao and a washed cacao. So most of the cacao in the industry is washed. Even the one that pretends to be ceremonial are mostly washed. For
What does
example,
that mean, washed?
so wash is like they go through a process, and it's because it's easier and it's faster instead of fermenting it, where the fermentation will make it enable all the nutrients to come into the fruit, and then when you do the paste, it's like the nutrients are still there. Washed is you process the cacao first, and it's easier, it's faster. It doesn't require people to peel the cacao, and that's why most of the cacao is washed, because it's a hard job to just like peel the cacao. Sometimes it hurts your thumbs. I've been doing it for a long time. And so, yeah, that's the difference. And fermented is the highest quality cacao you can get. But it's a bigger process because you have to ferment for like 7 to 9 days, depending on the strain that you're working with. And then like all the process of like drying and all these things. So it's like a longer process. And for the industry, for example, like chocolate industry, they don't have time to do all of this process for the demand. So they mostly process the cacao, and which becomes cocoa. So cocoa is a washed, and it's a processed cacao that has been put in alcohol for all the bacteria to be removed, but also all the nutrients and all the good stuff is also removed. So that's like the difference between both. Yeah, and then there's other differences like the criollo cacao, the native ones, and also the hybrid and the one that they use mostly in the industry.
Okay. So somebody is going to go through the fermentation process of the cacao beans. Am I understanding this correctly, where they cut the cacao off of the plant, they while it's still fresh, they open it up, they separate all of the beans out, and then they let it sit in the sun for 7 to 10 days and dry out? Is that the actual fermentation process without being washed, like you say?
So okay, so the fermented process, you want like you put it in fermentation. Like the inside of it, there's the beans and there's like a juice. It
Yes.
comes inside, and then you put it in a box with banana leaves. That's how we've been doing it. So
Yeah.
banana leaves, and then you let it sit for 3 days in each box. Like there's a process. It's a whole thing. And so it's fermenting with the juice, with the sugar, with all the things, and that's why bring all the flavors of the cacao. That's why you can even see it if you buy cocoa powder and then you buy a ceremonial cacao. You'll see the difference like right away in the process. You'll
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and it's interesting because since we scheduled this podcast and now we're recording, I actually was in Hawaii and went to a cacao farm and did this whole tour of it. And we were able to cut the cacao off of the tree. They cut it open. And then when you're talking about the fruit and those juices around the fruit, and they actually use those juices, and they do the fermentation in the banana leaves. But that fruit is really, really, really sweet. It tastes like some exotic fruit. And from what my understanding is, the other places where they're processing it and mass production, they just toss that gem away.
Exactly. Yeah, and they use like a big machines where they put all of it together, and then they don't go through the process of fermentation, so they just like washed it and then like easily going to dry, and it's shorter process, but like it removes all the. And I know that because I've also worked with Cadbury, which is like this big chocolate industry. I did a course with them. I like to get different perspective, and that's what they were saying. And yeah, so there's so many differences around how the cacao is grown, in what environment. So if it's a monoculture, if it's a biodiverse lands, it will make a big difference. And I actually have this retreat that we do every year in Guatemala, and we get to experience all of it, like we go through like the whole process from the roots, from the seeds, how we grow. We even have the possibility to grow one, and then we see the process and the spiritual aspects of cacao and all those things. So we can go deeper into it. But yeah, there's a lot to learn about this plant, and I won't pretend I have the truth, because I have to say all stories of different nations are very different, and that's what
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Well, and you've studied with a lot of indigenous cultures. You've been on 4 different continents studying this, and I'm really curious about the differences in the cacao based on the region, because even when I was in Hawaii and doing their cacao, they were saying because of their climate and because it's a little bit colder, there's a higher fat content in their cacao. And so there's their ceremonial grade cacao and the regular cacao is very different than, say, Peruvian or Guatemalan. And so I'm really curious from your experience how they vary, and if the layperson would be able to notice those variations.
I mean, there's so many variation. You know, like cacao, all the strains of cacao right now, we're talking about criollo cacao. I don't know if you heard this word, but this is a marketing thing. It doesn't exist anymore. So the ancestral criollo cacao there's no ancestral, like pure cacao. It's all mixed with different strains. So like all cacao are pretty different, I have to say. Even in one field, you'll have different DNA of cacao. So it's hard to say how many and how it differs. But yes, of course, the land will differ, but it's also like from where it has been took and picked, and also who grew it, and then all these things that changed. And it's a lot of change. But there's like 3 different categories of cacao, which is the hybrid, and the native one, and the criollo. So that's the main 3 strains. But then in those strains, there's all the varieties that comes inside of those. And most of the production, like 99% of the production, are hybrid cacao.
Okay, interesting.
So yeah.
I guess what surprised me was on this little farm that I went to in Hawaii, they had, I mean, it's only 5 acres. They had a ton of cacao. They were planting it. They were trying to regenerate. And the cacao pods were 3 different colors. There was a yellow, the purple, and the red. And then when they ripen, they changed to different colors. And I thought that was interesting, because I just assumed all cacao would kind of look the same.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's like cacao. It's like humans. We all have different colors. There's no like one human that's the same with the cacao. Even the color with one tree can be like, some pods will be red, some pods will be orange. It's just, she's like that. Cacao, she is a diverse, and she's actually calling in diversity and calling in reunifications, like this essence of being different, and also like just, yeah, expressing our colors. So the colors are even not related to the strains of the cacao. So one tree can have different colors, and the colors is just like how we express I have this shirt today, tomorrow I'll have a yellow shirt. So it's an expression of our beauty.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, for people like me that were just kind of exploring cacao, and I'm exploring different, what I'm labeled as ceremonial grade cacao. Like, how do we begin to cultivate a relationship with this medicine? And I want to express that it's medicine. It's not just drinking a cup of hot chocolate, which is a very different experience, but it is a medicine. And so how do we open ourselves up? How do we start to receive the gifts that it has to offer? And what is the right way to even start that? Like, as I'm saying, I'm getting ceremonial great cacao from different places. And I know even that in itself, like, people, that's a marketing thing, ceremonial grade. And you don't even know sometimes if you're getting what you think you're getting. And so for people that are really interested in developing a deep relationship, where do we begin? How do we do this?
I love that question. I love to see the spirit, as a spirit. When we start communing with cacao or any plant medicine, I think the important is to start by removing all concepts and removing all ideas that we have of this plant. So for example, we hear a lot of like, oh, it's heart opening, it's this and that. And then it's like all conceptualized in our mind and we stay in the mind. So like when we start trusting a plant, when we start communing with her, is to ask her what she wants us to receive from her. I think the importance is really like, to breathe in, to breathe out, to be conscious of being aware of our environment, being aware and removing all obstacles that the mind can think of, like, oh, she's gonna give me this. And then it's like you're cultivating kind of like this relationship where you're expecting something. So don't expect from her. Just be there and be open to receive her as she is and as she wants to because she has so many teachings, and she will when you open yourself and you trust her spirit, when you trust her wisdom, it's not knowledge, it's wisdom that she holds. So I think for me, the importance and what I've seen in the different tribes and the one that hold this medicine for so long is the intention and the prayer. So when we pray, she's an absorptive plant, she's an absorbent medicine, so she will like really give you what is needed for you. And so opening your channel to receive her without expectation, but also having an intention of communing. It's not like, as you say, drinking a hot chocolate before the work. Like, take a moment to ritualize your connection with her. And I know that it has been in our world a big disconnection with the natural world, the inanimate worldview that is predominant in our society is removing this connection that we can foster with plants, foster with the sun. So just like to start by noticing and being open to receive the messages of nature in general, to open your channel to see like this is animate forces, like this world is animate, this world is living, and cacao is a living, breathing being like we are. And so I think in that perspective, you can really open to her messages that she can transmit. And again, I think also one of the things, like if you want to go deeper, I think like this is like to start is really like to root down into like, yes, honoring her spirit as a spirit. But I think if you want to go deeper, and that what has actually opened me more personally to her wisdom is to sit with elders, sit with indigenous people that have been cultivating this plant. And I think it's important to know because there's an ancestry, there's a DNA that comes with it. Like if it's been like thousands of years that those people are communing with this plant, of course they know deeper messages that we can even understand if you're a Western person that doesn't come from those lands. So I think to come into a space where if you have the possibility to go in Guatemala, to go in Peru, to go in those sacred sites and commune with the tree, like, to see the tree, to understand how she works, and then to sit with the elders that have been cultivating this plant. And especially if you're thinking of facilitating spaces with cacao, for me, it's a primordial thing in respect and reverence to this plant, to first sit with her, to first sit with the elders, to honor the ancestry of this plant, because I think we take her for granted in this world, like, oh yes, she gives us so much and everyone is receiving so much from her, but what are we giving back? And this is so important because the farmers, the reality of farmers in cacao industry is very sad. And this is a truth. So we can say we're doing ceremonies and cacao is uplifting our spirit and all these things in their spaces, but like, what are we giving back? She's trying to teach us to come back to the earth. So like to honor the farmers, because without them, there would no cacao ceremony, nothing like that would exist. So to take care of them, to take care of the land, to connect with the elders, to pray and to honor the ancestors. I've been hosting ceremonies with the blessings of the elders in Guatemala. And always I start my ceremony by honoring the farmers, by paying reverence to her history and to ancestors, especially knowing that many indigenous people have been killed, abused for practicing those kind of rituals and for practicing this. So to use this culture and to use this plant without honoring the ancestor that took care of it, I think it's a big disrespect to even the spirit of cacao.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And I I believe that's important, and I definitely want to circle back to that piece, but I'm curious for the people that are wanting to cultivate a relationship but don't have the ability to travel. Maybe they don't have the finances, they don't have the resources, they've got families or responsibilities. How do they know if what they're getting is being ethically sourced and is
Hmm.
sustainable?
Oh, yeah, that's a very good question. I think for me, how I choose a business or like someone I want to work with or like, the ceremonial cacao, it's all about transparency, like to do your own research and not only trust the packages because it says like sustainable. Like, I think we can go into looking a bit more of what is calling you like to connect with, also like trusting your intuition
Mm-hmm.
around who you trust to hold this medicine for you, and transparency. So like businesses that have, there's a lot of businesses that are super transparent and they have a mission and they do like a support NGO, support local organizations. So I would go with those because long term, these businesses will be the one that will sustain cacao in the long term. And if we want her to, it's like reciprocity to build with cacao. So we want her to give her love. So may we honor also like businesses that also give back to the source and like help uplift our spirit and our farms because they're
Mm-hmm.
not going well in the world right now. So it's important to know that.
And do you feel like there's an oversourcing of cacao so that the sustainability piece is very important?
Hmm. I think cacao, I think the movement of cacao ceremonies is actually beautiful in many ways because it's bringing more awareness around like sustainably sourced cacao. And I think, yes, like, I mean, there's like the big industry, like, like just don't go with the big industry, but I think like local small businesses, I think is the way. Um, yeah, I do think like it's not overused, it's just under taken care of. I think that is the thing. Like we can use cacao, we can, like, I mean, there's a lot, but there's also a need of regeneration. And I'm an advocate for this. I work in an association in Guatemala and we work on giving training and helping the farmers to build resilience around their farm because a lot of this knowledge have been lost and it's important. And most of the farmers I've encountered, they want to stop the production because
Mm-hmm.
of how hard it is. Climate change have changed a lot of things. So it's like to build resilience around regenerative practices. But I don't think it's overused. I think it's under taken care of. I do think it's that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And for somebody, so I went to a cacao ceremony. That's why I reached out to you. And it was not revered in this ceremony. I was actually really disappointed. The person didn't talk about the background, the origin. I don't feel like we really honored it. They gave us a gigantic mug of it, and basically told us to smell it, take 3 deep breaths, and then they're like, just enjoy it at your leisure. And we didn't get any education, we didn't get any background. And there's so many people right now with this movement with cacao having ceremonies. And so what's the difference between just drinking cacao and then going into a ceremonial space and honoring cacao? And why is that even important?
Hmm. Well, I think it's a callback to the earth again. Like I can share a little bit about the Mayan prophecy of cacao. So there's an ancient text that I've wrote back like thousands of years ago that one day cacao will go out of the jungle in
Mm,
our history and she will go everywhere in the world to reconnect people with nature. And that is a prophecy that I think is taking form and it's being alive right now with people like me and different people around the world that are transmitting our message. So I think what is important, bigger than ourself, our connection with ourself and our well-being of the world. And I think she's a beautiful teacher when you connect with our medicine and when you connect with like beyond just drinking and like, oh, she did her work, okay, now we're good. We can have deeper messages to actually repair the bond that we have with nature. We know like the division, separation, individualism, capitalism has stripped our connection to nature. And I think if we pay reverence to this plant, and if we hear a message and the message of our ancestors, it really, for me, that's what it did. And it does that for so many people that I hold space for. And in that essence, and they like, wow, okay, now I know I'm here for something deeper than my own well-being, but what about the well-being of all of us? And that's the spirit of cacao. She's bringing us back in communion, in connection. We see her in ecstatic dance. Why? Because she opens the heart, and then people are happy to connect. But deeper than that, her message for humanity is to reconnect with the earth. And I think that's why it's important to get her message, like to get her message, because yes, you can have a little uplifting moment, which is beautiful. Like, I think her spirit will always reach where she needs to go. So even this, I think, in fact, it can bring a lot of healing. But if we go deeper into it, then you become like united. And that's what she's doing for me. I'm feeling united with Mother Earth more than ever in my life. I see her seeing me. I'm not there looking at life and like, oh, this tree. I can hear and see the tree looking back at me. And this is like very profound, because it's like healing the wound of separation that we're experiencing as human beings.
I'm actually really curious about your experience, just to dive a little bit deeper. If you've had a profound opening experience that kind of changed and transformed everything, or if it's this continual opening and what that looks like for you and how is that unfolding.
This is so beautiful because it is a little bit of both. So for me, how cacao has been acting on me, I've been first ceremony held by an elder. It was a moment that like my heart like popped in. I was like, oh, wow, this is like, wow, it was a heart opening, like, poof. I was like at the point in a separation with my ex and like all these things. It was like, I felt sad, and then and her spirit came to me like, hey, open up, like you're so much love here, and life is love. And so this was like the first opening. It was like so deep, so I decided to go deeper into her spirit, because I was like, I want to know her. What is she doing on me? Like, she's like, she's so powerful, she's so beautiful. So then this is where I've been training and learning about not only cacao but all the Mayan cosmovision and how to connect with the different spirits and nature. And then, yeah, I had to travel a lot around the world, but cacao spirit always been with me. And I didn't know where it would bring me today, but she brought me back to this mission of taking care of her, and like this full devotion on safeguarding or sacred seeds, safeguarding or everything. So it's continuous. She's always giving me messages, and I have to say, all that I do, it's her messages. Like I always consult her when I need to take a decision, and how does she want me? It's like, I'm not serving cacao, she's serving me, and she's guiding me through this path. And it's going deeper and deeper, and it's always like new messages coming. So it's like a continuous opening and grounding at the same time. It's like your heart is opening and it's like grounding, and I'm like, reverence to earth. I see life in a different way, and in a way that is more uniting. Like, competition in my mind doesn't make sense anymore. Collaboration, she's helping me to be more collaborative with all living beings, beyond humans. Yeah.
It's like stepping out of duality into oneness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stepping out of duality into oneness. It's a beautiful way to formalize it. Yeah, it's a very deep, profound journey, and she's so loving. She's so loving if we open ourselves to her wisdom, and beyond the ego, beyond the mind, as I say, like just dropping into the body and dropping into the sensation and into her message, and trusting the messages that come through. She's always continuously there, and as a reminder of our essence. Yeah.
I'm really curious about the reverence of cacao in the various cultures that you've stepped into and how the different cultures hold the plant, hold the medicine, hold ceremony, and the similarities between them and the differences between them. I'm
Hmm.
sure, I'm assuming that even within one culture, there's a lot of variation and a lot of differences, but I'm wondering if there's any common threads that you can share with us.
Oh, yes. The common thread I've seen is literally this connection with the earth. It's
Mhm.
literally this reverence because cacao, and I've been mostly with the Mayan people in my journey. Like I've been in different culture, but the one that hold the most like connection with her spirit has been for me in my experience the Mayan people, and there's different Mayans, so they also have their own ways of
Mhm.
connecting with her. But what have been common for all is really this reverence for nature and her symbolism of abundance, because it's known as the feminine spirit, this fertility, and so she's always used in any kind of conflict resolution. She'll be used. She'll be in a space for marriage, for that. She's there in every ritual, but not in the way that we think she's being served, because the way we serve cacao in the ceremonies today is not the way that it has been done for centuries. It's true that cacao ceremonies have always been there, but it was never about cacao. It was never about us drinking and opening ourselves. It was all about offering cacao to the earth. So most of the
Mm.
ceremonies you see, they will not even drink it, they will give it like a
Oh,
ton
interesting. They'll pour it to the earth and as an offering?
as an offering. And also the thing is, like, because they understood, as I say, we are undivided to nature. So as we pour like cacao to the earth, we're nourishing ourselves because we are nature, we are the soil. And that is like a deep, like, whoa, okay, that's not how the Western human being thinks today, but it's like to come back to this wisdom. So that was like the main thread I saw. Sometimes we drink, yes, we drink also. We do ceremonies around our trees. We use a lot of copal and different other things, but she's not alone. She's collaborative, so she'll be there with the corn, with other elements. The fire is very important. The fire is the essence of all. So cacao is there, but she's not the main thing. So to say cacao ceremony is pretty new, because there's nothing as a cacao ceremony. Cacao is an aspect of a ceremony. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious about this burst in cacao ceremonies that we're seeing in the Western world and where that came from. And it's kind of everywhere. There's big marketing towards ceremonial grade cacao. There's big marketing towards cacao ceremonies in general. There's a lot of people holding them that have very little knowledge around it. And I'm wondering I don't know, because you've been in this world for a while. I wondered if you can understand this boom.
Yeah, the boom, I know where it comes from. It comes from Guatemala, from Keat Cacao. I don't know if you know Keat, but
Mm-mm.
Keat is an American guy who, way back. And I haven't met him, but he's a beautiful soul. Don't get me wrong. He's amazing, and he has been doing a lot of work with cacao. And he has been the one pioneer of this movement. So he's an anthropologist, and he went to like lived in Guatemala for a long time, and he saw cacao, and he was like, "Wow, this is," he had a revelation, and cacao has shared a message to him
Mhm.
to share this in that way, and so he's the one that birthed this. But then from there, like a lot of multiplication of different ways of of connecting with her. And I think it's so funny. Well, not funny, because yes, it's a movement, but that's why I say, like, coming back to the roots of her message is very important, because it's easy to get lost in this system, in this world where, like, we want to disrupt change. We want to, we want to change something, but then we're acting in, like, at the same way as it, like, we're not actually embodying the change that we want to see, because then, oh, it's another market, it's another. So how can we really disrupt change um, in that way, using the same method as the colonizers, or using the same methods as the one that have oppressed this society. So it's like important, I think, for us today more than anything, is to come back to ancient wisdom and to root message of the things and of the spirits of plants. But yeah, like, so now it's just like people wants to get out of the system, so they want to build a well-being and live the dream of influencer and drinking cacao, but then they're just like doing it again and in a different way. And that we see it, you know, like all the spiritual communities, and I've been in many places in the world where they want to get out of the system, but they're actually recreating the system in a different way.
Yeah.
So it's like coming back to the roots again, hearing the birds, connecting with nature. It's always a message I bring back for us to like really being grounded in this world, you know.
Well, I think there's so many medicines that have come from different regions that are coming into the Western world. There's plant medicines, and there's amphibian medicines, and there's all these different medicines that are kind of coming forward now. And so I think that there's something beautiful about that it's getting shared, and its message is spreading. And then also there's like a little bit of a dilution that happens when that spreading happens. And so I always think that when anybody is partaking in any ceremony or with any medicine, it's really important to look at the intentions behind the person that's serving it. And if you start to look at that person's social media and you start to kind of read between the lines and look at their website and see what they're charging, and is it is it this insane amount of money, or is it reasonable and accessible for all, then I think you can read between the lines and look at the intention behind that person. And so we all need to sustain ourselves financially, right? So providing money for an experience like that, I get that. But then, is it accessible for all? Is it exorbitant? And is it just to feed that person's pocket? Or is it for them really wanting to share that message, really wanting to share that information, that medicine, with this intention to serve and to offer and to create more light in the world? Or is there this thread of greediness or self-serving or egoism in it? And so I'm curious if you have any advice for people that are wanting to look into this. What are some signs that they could look for if somebody is coming in with the right intention?
I mean, I don't think I can tell for others how they feel. I think it's also to trust your intuition, like the integrity of the teachings that they are preaching. Is it only for the Instagram, or are they really living by those principles that they teach others? As you say, like the money, where it goes, you know, are you seeing this person like buying a jet? Like, you know, like what do they do with the money? Do you want to encourage this? I feel like life is an offering, and I like to encourage people that I want to see thrive. I like what they do. So I'm like, oh, wow, I want to give my money to this person because I like what she's doing and I want to support that. So to know who you want to support, what do you want to support at the end?
Yes. Yeah. Is there anything that you feel really strongly about or passionate about that we haven't touched on with cacao?
I am passionate about her, because what is beautiful with this plant is that I always learn. And I'm going deeper every time. I'm doing different studies. I'm going in different places, and it's always something new. I'm like, she's full of surprise. Like, I learned from how to cultivate her. I'm learning from her heirloom seeds. I work with the farmers. I love to learn about the people and how they incorporate it. I love what she can do for woman health. Like, she's amazing, and I've been learning a lot from the Mayan woman and how they've been using cacao for centuries, for pregnancy, for so many things. And I'm like, wow, this is so supportive. One interesting thing they told me, I was talking about menopause, which is something that a lot of women are going through.
Yeah.
And the Mayan woman said, we don't know that. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know that? Like, yes, they go through, like, okay, they don't release the blood anymore, but they don't go through all the symptoms that many women are going through. And I think that was like, wow, okay, this is something we need to share with the world. They use cacao so much that it's a hormone regulator, so it's like really helping you with the menopause and with different things that women go through. So I think she's a beautiful guy for women, and I love to learn more about that and helping people along the way this way. But there's so many things fascinating about her. And that's why I create these containers where we go like full circle around cacao. We touch base on how to take care of her on the field, to what is her stories, to like I love to go through all of the full circle around her medicine. Yeah.
Well, and as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about how these people have a deep connection with the land, and how in our culture in the Western world, we're really disconnected from nature. And so that's really a good thing to look at is when you're going into ceremony, or when you're going to do medicine, or when you're working with Indigenous tribes, how connected to the earth are they? How connected, like you have this deep connection, and you're going into these cultures, and you're learning, and you're spending time in nature. And I feel like maybe that's why they have an easier time with menopause, because we are so inundated with social media, and we're so overstimulated, and our feet aren't touching the earth, and we're not connecting with nature, and we're not even getting out in nature. We're in our little boxes in our homes and in our offices. And how incredibly important it is for our soul and for our body. And then also the foods we're eating. Does it come from nature? Or is it coming from boxes? And is it mass produced? And is it processed? And the further we get away from nature, then the more unhealthy our whole being becomes. And so I think that all of these tribes that have this deep connection are probably so much healthier physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And so that's something that we can look at is what is their connection to nature, to spirit, to themselves.
And this is so beautiful. And yeah, to invite everyone, like I know we all have this life and we work and all these things, but really to take a moment every day just to connect with nature. As you say, it can be very helpful and like uplifting our energy, and just feeling not like as a stranger in this world, but like as we belong. Because the fact that human wanted to separate from nature is like we don't belong here, because here it's a natural world and this is the ecosystem we are in. Yeah. And so like to bring this reflection, of course, for me, spending a lot of times with the tribes brought me back to this and like embodiment of it. Now I just came back to Canada, and like this, like, okay, how can I also bring people into cultivating this connection with nature that will support them and overall all living beings, because we are part of this interconnected web. So
yeah, beautiful. Well, Charlotte, how can people connect with you? I'd love for you to share your offerings, how they can find you, about your retreats, and how they can work with you.
So I'm mostly on Instagram. I post a lot of educative content. I love to share with people beyond cacao, but also like how to foster this connection with nature. As I said, we have retreats every year in Guatemala. I didn't announce next year, but it's going to be like beginning of the year in the jungle. So we're going there, and we're experiencing like a 1 week connection with cacao and our ancestry. And otherwise, like I have programs that are coming up. I'm not announced yet, but then in September we will open our first program with cacao. And otherwise, I also offer readings based on your guardian, your Nawal, which is like the astrology for the Mayans. So how can we connect with the guardians of nature to support us, and who are we, our essence, and what is our role in this web, which is very beautiful. And I have my website. I do also offer our cacao, and our money go back to the woman cooperative that we built there. And we also have a project to safeguard this ancestral seeds of cacao. So it's a full circle going back to the source. And we can go on my website, so heart2heart.com.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you. I love your knowledge. I was definitely drawn to you 100%. Like I was super clear I wanted to talk to you. So I'm really grateful for our conversation and your knowledge and for what you're doing in this world. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nikki, for the invitation. It was lovely.
Thank you for listening to the Connected Community Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe. I can be found at www.nickyyoga.com, NICKYYYOGA.com. Until I see you again next week, I hope you have a beautiful day.